Hey everyone, just as a little heads up before we get into today's Psychologically Gaming, this video contains spoilers from the game Returnal in story bits and possibly in-game footage. I haven't decided yet, but if you guys see in-game footage in there, just know that I'm using story bits to connect to the psychological stuff that you're going to see explained in today's video. So if you haven't played the game Returnal and you don't want any spoilers, now is your time to kind of turn back and run away. But if you guys don't mind spoilers or anything like that, then stay, enjoy, and I will see you guys in the video. What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome to today's episode of Psychologically Gaming, where I'm going to be diving into the character Selene from the game Returnal. Oh, this game was so good. It was so good. I have my review coming up in tomorrow's video, and there's going to be actually two videos coming out tomorrow. One of the spoiler-free version of the review for Returnal, and one for the very spoiler-heavy review for Returnal. Right off the bat, Selene, I believe, has acute PTSD. Now, what is exactly acute PTSD? Acute PTSD is an acute stress disorder that is a mental health condition that can occur immediately after a traumatic event. It can cause a range of psychological symptoms, and without recognition or treatment, it can lead to post-traumatic stress disorder. There is a close relationship between acute stress disorder, ASD, and PTSD. The other thing that I think Selene might have is delusions. Now, whether these are delusions of grandeur or overconfidence in a situation, those two things are completely different. Worth noting too, because sometimes whenever people use the word delusional, they don't use it a lot of the time in the correct context. So if you're saying that someone is delusional, they have more of a more grandiose image of themselves. They have a more grandiose image of how they are perceived by others, which may or may not be true. It goes a lot deeper into that of where you can't tell what the difference between what is real and what is not. Delusions of grandeur are more common, and where this is the one where you believe you have more power, wealth, smarts, or goods and physical traits and mental traits than other people do. The one case where I feel like Selene actually has this is where a lot of people who have delusions of grandeur will think that certain events took place when in reality they did. This could be the basis for actually the entire game of where Selene imagines herself as this astronaut who works for Astra, and in reality this might have never happened. She gets even a rejection letter in one of the haunted houses, and this might even suggest altogether that she was rejected because of how her mental status was at the time. So it's wild to think about when we look at this entire game and we see that, oh, okay, so this might not have even happened at all, and she's imagining everything. Now, this next diagnosis might be a bit of a stretch, but I believe she can also have, she has panic attacks as well, because every time that she comes back to life, essentially, and we redo a run, or she gets out of haunted house, she has really deep breathing, almost to where she's like wheezing in her breath or her tone, and how she is gasping for air, which I'm going to show a clip of actually right here. Each time it sounds like she's gasping for air, and that's very common in panic attacks. I know from personal experience, it feels like you can't breathe a lot of the time. Also can correlate to the abyssal scar to an extent, because in that area you are underwater and she was in a car crash, so it makes kind of sense there. But again, that might be a bit of a stretch. Very quickly you get out of breath, you feel like you are gonna die, you are not gonna survive. Like there's such a range of emotions that happen with panic attacks. There's anxiety, there's trouble making sense of the world around you. That's why there's this test when you are having a panic attack, to feel something, to see something, to touch something that might be in front of you, whether that's a person or an object. So many different things that you can do when you're having a panic attack to more so ground yourself. When it comes to Selene, however, since this could all be a delusion, and this all could just be because of the trauma that she experienced when she got into that car crash with her son. And by the way, open parentheses for a second here. Someone tell me in the comments, is that her son that she got into the car crash with, or is that a daughter? Because it never specifies the gender. of the child, and I don't want to go assuming that, oh, it's a boy, oh, it's a girl. Like, I don't want to keep assuming. So yeah, if someone could fill me in, that would be awesome. There are even different different writings that are on, like, I always call them the hieroglyphics, the stone slabs, and that we see of where right before I think it's right after you collect a certain amount after you beat Hyperion, that I saw where and I think I might have it in one of the sections I recorded of the game, of where it's almost as if she regrets having her child to an extent. So you have this kind of mental imbalance that she's also going through to try to understand, you know, herself, understand her surroundings, understand the relationship that she had with her mother, because, you know, her mother would never let her listen to certain songs. Her mother, you know, would kind of, in a way, regretted her, you know, regretted having her, which is such a sad thing to think about, because from the lore that I've been looking into and the research that I've been doing, from the looks of it, it seems as if Thea was an astronaut herself. And then, you know, Selene wanted to follow in those footsteps. So like I said, in the very last video that I did for the playthrough of Returnal, it seems as if that is the cycle, you know, the car crash, because Thea got into a car crash with Selene, and Selene got into a car crash with her child. So when I look at it that way, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is a cycle. We have to kind of break the family patterns or the family habits that have been happening of where she wants to be there for her child. Selene really and truly, I feel like, wants to be there for her child. And I feel as if, since, to an extent from what I'm gathering, her mother didn't want to be there for her, we have this kind of breaking, if you will, of the psyche, of where, like, okay, you know, Selene wasn't accepted into the Astra program, and that has her mentally jarbled. She created this entire world, this entire delusion, to where she's, you know, fighting all of these different creatures and you know, exploring different territories. But that was my thoughts on Selene in this episode of Psychologically Gaming. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoy doing these videos so much. They take time to do, but they're so worth it, because I don't feel like a lot of YouTubers really dive into the psychology of any game character, for that matter. I know there's a Twitch streamer who does it. I forget his name off the top of my head right now, but I think his name is Dr. Mick, and he is a psychologist. But he does a lot of diving into and deep dives of the of different psychologies of characters. But very seldom do I see any YouTubers at all, besides myself and him, dive into these characters psychologically, or even the story bits from a psychological perspective. So that's really awesome. Yeah, I hope it gets talked about more, because psychology is fun and it deserves to have its own little niche and section in the gaming community where it can be discussed till hell freezes over. But if you guys like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. I make videos every day here on YouTube. May you find your worth in the waking world, dear hunter. Stay casually nerdy, and I will see you all in the next video. Umbasa.